Hello, and welcome to the spring segment of Perspectives. Today we have some great stories lined up. I'm Taylor Smith.
And I'm Joshua Housing. Here at the University of Iowa, students are constantly working towards success, whether it be school, work, or a student organization.
That's right, Josh. I talked to a new student organization, the national chapter of the Association of the Advancement of Colored People. They want their hard work to pay off into success.
The NAACP was founded because I felt that there was not a Black student org on campus that was focused on the community.
Reed wants students to know that the community is their main focus. Along with community comes gaining membership.
General body meetings, we have 2 a month and every 2 weeks, and they're from 7:30 to 8:30, normally in the IMU, and it's basically, where members come together, we kind of recap things from the previous meeting. We have things on our agenda that we put up on the board, sort of goals that we have or upcoming events.
With the University of Iowa being such a large campus, finding a voice on campus can be difficult. Vice President Judge Brooks explains some of the difficulties in becoming a new organization.
We've had problems gaining funding for the organization, especially for memberships. There is a fee to be a member of the NAACP, and we don't want University of Iowa students to have to pay that fee.
With the University of Iowa having several different organizations, getting members can be difficult.
We've also come into competition with other student organizations because we all pretty much have a common goal of bringing students together, but our main goal is to get the students out into the community.
Now that the chapter is established, what else can we expect from the NAACP?
I hope to implement annual programs, so things that we can do over and over again each year that are going to last even when the current executive board is gone.
Taylor Smith, Perspectives News.
While the NAACP helps the Iowa City community, they also want change for students on campus. The group created a campaign called I Too Am Iowa to share what they call unheard and devalued voices of minority students. Perspectives reporter Selena Carr finds out how they are getting their message out.
With whiteboards, markers, and the flash of a camera, several students are opening a closed door to discuss racial equality. The I2M Iowa campaign centers on a Tumblr page. It has photos of minority students holding messages of stereotypes and microaggressions they faced on campus. The NAACP wants to keep their message alive by adding student interviews and poetry to the page.
I've read a couple of them, and even though that they weren't said directly to me, I've heard stories about certain encounters.
It's a bold statement. It's daring, it's different, and I think it's going to have a big impact.
Only 13.6% of students enrolled at the UI are minorities, yet I2M Iowa leaders believe that their voices can be turned into change if the administration takes action. NAACP Secretary Ashley Lee wants the university to add a cultural competency course to serve as a general education requirement.
There really needs to be communication across different cultural lines.
Lee believes if the administration fails to react, any possible changes will happen a long way down the road.
What we're fighting for, we should have had from the very beginning.
This fight is in full force, and I2M Iowa leaders are not backing down. Selena Carr, Perspectives News.
For years, there's been an ongoing discussion about a stereotype. Cache Clater dives in and answers a question that is sure to make a splash. Why don't Black people swim?
Although 3 African Americans represented the USA in the 2012 Summer Olympics, there's no denying that 60% of our race cannot swim. And although we may never have a definitive answer as to why we can't swim, here's some factors we may consider.
First, the hair. I know my mom didn't let me swim for a while because she didn't want me to go in the pool and my hair get messed up.
Many African Americans, including Oprah, say they don't swim because of their hair. So let's take a look at what chlorine really does to our hair. First, chlorine destroys the protein layers that nourish hair. Second, it damages the outer layers of the hair the most. And third, causes cuticles to crack and split, resulting in dry, brittle hair. And while hair may be a valid reason not to dive in head first, the second factor coincides with history. Charles Holliday, the only African American on Iowa's swim team, helps explain why swimming has become a predominantly white sport.
A big thing is with swimming, I think it started off as a country club sport, and a lot of African Americans can't get into that.
Looking back on history, African Americans were not able to join country clubs and often not allowed to swim in public pools.
in addition to the lack of resources, they did not have the funding to put their kids in swimming.
That's a big reason myself I didn't get involved until high school, because I was in 3 sports that were funded by the government. I had basketball, baseball, and football, and those were all $30 to participate for a whole season with all your equipment. But swimming, it could be 10 times that for a month.
I spoke with a lifeguard to figure out yet another factor.
I think a lot of it is people are scared to say that they don't know how to swim.
Although hair history and the fear of asking may explain our inability to swim, we cannot ignore the consequences of not knowing how.
Black kids are 3 times more likely to drown than white kids.
So now that we know a few factors and risks of not knowing how to swim, what's next?
I think encouragement is a big thing, just to get them involved. It could save a life if that's what it comes down to, and I think it's well worth it.
Taking the first steps may be the hardest, but it just may save your life. Cache Clater, Perspective News.
Once people find faith in God, usually finding a church is the next step. However, some African American students find practicing their Christian faith difficult in Iowa City. Selena Carr met with local pastors to find out why students aren't attending church.
At the historically African American Bethel AME Church, you'll see Pastor Dial and his church family full of Black professors, children, and community members. Yet at some services, you might not see any Black college students in the pews.
There are probably 6 who attend fairly regularly, and of that 6, I think 3 are grad students, and then 3 are undergrads.
Students might find a church like Bethel, but having the faith to walk through the doors can prove to be a bigger challenge. While the challenge of getting to church exists, Pastor Dial also understands the struggle for students to find a place like home.
They may be accustomed to a different style of service than we have, but many people who come here say one of the reasons they do come here is if it's not what they are accustomed to at home, it's very close to it and they have a comfort level.
Student Del Marie Nelson attends Bethel, but before, she found it difficult finding a church that matched her cultural background and spiritual needs. She believes other minority students may feel the same.
Not a lot of minority churches, and so it can be difficult for students to find it, but if they're okay with adapting, then they'll be fine.
Across town, the Kingdom Center tries to replicate home for college students. Senior Pastor Vince Allen realizes students' concerns.
I can understand the minority challenge in assimilating and relating to the culture that we're surrounded by.
While young believers have to find a spiritual dwelling, Pastor Allen believes ministry should find a way to reach students.
We have to meet halfway. I will come on campus. I will provide services. I will, create a presence. However, you must answer the call as well.
There are many churches in Iowa City. Now it's up to the students to find what place feels like home. Selena Carr, Perspectives News. Searching for a church may be hard, but for fashion models, finding the runway is only a step away. A multicultural fashion show, Walk It Out, brought students to the Iowa Memorial Union to see the diverse fashions of many university students' cultures. Hip-hop, East Asian, LGBTQ, and African cultures were among the runway's fashion. The event helps to support a cause, awareness for HIV/AIDS.
The group is just amazing. When we work together, it's so much fun. We do the dancing, we choreograph things. It's just such a good experience, with meeting new people and appreciating different cultures. This is what the show's all about.
The money raised from the fashion show will go towards the University of Iowa Hospitals and Clinics HIV/AIDS program.
I can't wait to wear some fashionable clothes this summer. What about you, Josh? What's your fashion sense like?
Fashion sense? What's that mean?
Everybody has fashion sense.
I know, I was just kidding. Well, that's all we have here today, but wish the best of luck to all the students during finals week.
Thank you for tuning in to Perspectives, and we hope to see you for our next show in the fall.
And from all of us here at Perspective News, have a great summer. Stay classy, Iowa City.